What basketball needs, Steve. We've got, nearly a full house here. The rivalry is as intense as ever between the Tigers and the Titans.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is NBL Rewind, and Liam Santamaria, hello to you. Welcome. We've got a very special guest in Darryl McDonald. We'll get to in a moment. But we're having so much fun going back, and I just straight off the bat, this era of basketball, and it was right now, we were teens and we're just sort of coming out of it. How fun was this? And this game was no exception. How you doing?
Awesome game. I'm doing great. I'm doing great after watching this one because it's not a grand final. It's a regular season game, but it had a finals type atmosphere.
Yeah.
And as John Casey, what I've written down here, one of the most unbelievable games you'll ever see is what he labelled it at the end of the game. And he was bang on. Overtime thriller. And our man here hit the game winner.
Just a full stop as he did so many times at the end of games. Is that up, D-Mac?
How are you guys? How you doing?
I'm good. But before we get into the game, before we talk ball, look, happy birthday. You're obviously celebrating a birthday this week. I'm not even going to ask you how old you are because legitimately, you looked exactly the same as you did in 1994. Do you age, man, or what?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I actually do. I just try to cover it up.
You do a good job.
I try to cover it up.
Happy birthday, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, look, this has been obviously such a weird time right around the world, and we're all sitting back watching games or trying to find some sport to watch, and that's what Liam and I have been able to do with NBL Rewind. It's so much fun. What have you been watching? What have you been watching sitting on the couch the last couple of months?
NBA. They've been showing a lot of NBA games on ESPN. Plus I got a league pass. I go back and watch NBA games. I honestly say I don't go back and watch my old games. I actually haven't done that. So, also Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I love movies. I've been watching a lot of movies. I've actually gotten into this show, and I'm actually watching it now, called The Blacklist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, it's actually really good.
It's good.
I've actually gotten into it. I've been watching it for the last 3 or 4 days, and it's been really good. Still watching it.
Good TV show, of course. Watch it after you watch this game. If you haven't watched this game, the Titans and the Tigers, and it's a ripping contest. Two teams, the Victoria Titans, who we'll touch on in a moment, were flying at the time, and they went at it. There's blood spilt, and sport hatred and passion, Liam Santamaria, leads us into, you mentioned it, it's not a playoff game. It's earlier in the year, November, of course, we're a couple of months into the summer season at that point. But anytime these two teams went at it, Melbourne rivalry, which Mackie was so big part of course, around these times, you don't need to be a finals game. There's just pure anger and nothing gets left on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. And Mac, you say that you're not going back and watching your old games or your old clips. Don't worry, we're doing enough of that for you.
We're doing it for you.
You know what? It's funny though, because I actually never say thanks, but I want to thank you guys because you guys definitely be hooking me. you definitely be hooking me up. So thanks for that.
We went back and watched the '94 grand final, the game winner in Adelaide. Broke that down, how magical a shot that was. We're going to talk to you about that '94 season in a while, because that was obviously pure joy when it comes to basketball, watching you and the Giants go about it. But this game. When I hit you up a few days ago, hey, we want to get you on and talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but specifically we want to start with this 99 blood game between the Tigers and the Titans. What sprung to mind? What do you remember? Obviously, you remember hitting the game winner. What else do you remember about this game?
There was a lot of trash talk before it. Again, the Melbourne rivalry, every time we played each other, it was about 13,000, 14,000 people in the stands, which wasn't happening at that time. But, for them to come out for that game was, it was pretty special. And then just the game, like you said, blood, Tony Ronaldson got a band wrapped around his head. Frank Grimmer got tape wrapped around his face. And the guys just going at it. You know what I mean? And, for I guess myself, Leonard, Andrew Gaze, Brad Key, Anstey, me. It was Jason Smith. It was a lot of names in there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of legends in there. But just that game, like I said, during that time, early in the season, it was just a build-up. I think we end up playing them again in the playoffs that same year. I can't remember. Maybe not. But I think we end up playing them again, knocked them out the finals.
I tell you what, Mackie, you mentioned, of course, and those names, and there's probably some more we missed. They are legends of the game. But as you touched on with the trash talk, all pretty good on the lip as well. So we had this incredible sort of time with two really good teams and legends and Hall of Fames, all the rest of it. All good trash talkers, which as you said, takes it to another level.
I think I'm gonna tell you what it is. Well, Jason Smith was probably the main one because I've already said, because when you play for, the reputation of the Tigers was they never worked hard. They used to just come out and they just came out and hoop. You know what I mean? Whereas when I went, again, I remember I was at North Melbourne. When I went to the Titans, just my whole, what we did at the Giants was different compared to when I got with Gordon. We lift weights every day. We trained every day. And that's what Jason, I think that's what Jason was talking about. We trained and we working. They was on the golf course. Then I got to the Tigers, and honestly, it wasn't nothing like that. We pretty much did the same. Like we trained. I guess the one thing about our trainers was we probably hooped more. Like we hooped. Like you get in, we warm up and then we 5-on-5. That was pretty much our trainings at the Tigers. That would be the only difference. But again, we used to, when I was with Gorge, we worked. And it's funny because as playing with the Giants, when you played against those Magic teams, the difference with them and us was strength. And we beat them. 94, we beat them in the semis. 95, we beat them in the semis. But 96, they just was so much stronger than us. And everybody was wondering why. Right? Everybody was wondering why. What is Gorgon doing over there? And then I actually got over there and understood what he was doing. And he wanted us to be physical. He wanted us to be a physical team. Like, and again, our trainings, his model was our trainings should be harder than our games. And that's how we went about every day.
You talk about the rivalry, Mac. Over your career in the NBL, you were a part of a bunch of different big rivalries, right? You talk about the Giants and the Magic, Titans and the Tigers, Titans and Adelaide,
yeah.
Melbourne, Sydney later in your career. Where did this Titans-Tigers rivalry sit amongst all of those?
It would have been, it's up there, right? And the only reason why I say it's not high, because we never played them in the grand final. You know what I mean? We never met them in the grand final. We always met them. If we met them in the playoffs. And like I said, I think the first 2 years, we beat them in the semis. And then the 1 year when actually Drewy wasn't there, the year Drewy wasn't there, they beat us in the semis. You know what I mean? Or they beat it, not even the semis. Remember when there was six teams make the playoffs?
I remember.
It
was my one chance to get a ring, Mac.
Yeah, you were there. You was actually there. You was there.
Believe it.
We're actually doing NBL Rewind Liam Santa Maria game next week. So I'm looking forward to that's going to play out.
You was actually there. But again, Leah, you remember what injuries? We went through that year.
Wills, Anstey.
Wills, Anstey, Tony. Bear got injured. Jason, everybody was injured. So we struggled going into those playoff years.
In fact, we had so many injuries. We should just get some rings.
Retrospective.
And that's it's again the one thing that hurts. Now, I wouldn't say hurts me in my career, but always bothered me was that the one thing I wanted to do was win a championship with Gorgon.
Right.
Because I knew the teams we had, like we were tough, man. Like we always we were really good, and I know we put the work in. But then when it comes to the end of the year, like I said, either somebody get injured or we just get beat. You know what I mean? And we had those years where, like I said, I come out of when it first became the Titans, they had just lost to Adelaide. I think they lost to Adelaide in the final, and then we played Adelaide the final year in the finals, and they beat us. And the thing is, we as good a defensive team as we were, we couldn't defend them because they had no offense, and that really killed Gorgon because everybody, if you look at that Adelaide team, Darnell Mee, Kevin Brooks, Brett Maher, all those guys played off the dribble. And I played under Phil Smythe in the with the national team, which I don't like to talk about, but I played for him. And our offense was hoop. Like, you know, if he calls a three, the third person that gets the ball has to put the ball on the floor.
Yeah.
That's the offense. Honestly, this is the offense we ran with the national team. Not all the time, but when he wanted to, you know, just loosen things up, you know, he'd go 4 and pass. 4. If it gets to me on 4, I got to break my man down.
Right.
So when you playing those Adelaide teams, that's what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Like Brett Maher, Darnell Mee, you know, some pick and rolls here and there, ball movement, and we couldn't beat them. But then the following year, I think it was it might have been 2000. I think we ended up playing. We played them in the semis and ended up beating them, but then lost to Perth in the grand final.
Mm-hmm. Liam mentions a rivalry, of course. You're at North Melbourne, Southeast Melbourne Magic, Melbourne Tigers, all those 3 teams all together. And then, as you touched on, Magic lose that grand final to Adelaide, and then there's the merge. Like, looking back on it, what are your, like, you're in this intense rivalry, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, geez, hang on, we're merging, and I'm going to be playing under Brian Goorjian, and these dudes are going to be my teammates. What did you think of all of that?
It was interesting. And the reason I say that, well, when they came to us and said both teams, because it's funny, I actually didn't know what was going on until I seen it on the news. And then when I seen it on the news, I'm like, you know, and then nobody's called us, nobody's talked to us, but then we get a call like the next morning, you know, this is what's happening. No more, you know, no more money. We have to merge with the Magic. And people was like, no, we can't do that. Like, we're not merging with them. We don't want to go, you know, we're not going to come together with them. But it was the thing was, after we sat down and broke it down, like who stays, who goes. And then when I heard Brett was going, I'm thinking, nah, I can't. I'm not going to, you know, and that was my thing. I'm not going to play for them. I'm going wherever Brett goes. I'm going with Brett. And Brett pretty much sat me down like, dude, you gotta, you know, if he wants you there, you gotta stay there. You know, you got a family to feed, blah 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 blah. So Brett was ended up out, and then, you know, we get all these calls, and you know, we had meetings. Everybody, all the players that he wanted had a meeting with him, and my meeting would have took 30 seconds. I walked in, sat down. He said, "You in?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in." That was it. That was it. That was pretty much my meeting. And then I think he asked me about, he might have asked, if I can remember, he might have asked me about David Smith and asked me if David Smith could be a backup point guard. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, I think he can. And then he always gets on me about that. Because I told him that, he always gets on me about that. The problem with that is we end up losing Dave. Dave ended up going to the Tigers, and then they beat us.
Yeah.
That same year, the year Drewy was not there, he actually had a really good year. And then I don't even know. I actually don't know what happened to him after that.
Right. A bunch of fun names in this game to go back and watch that maybe hadn't thought about for a little while. David Smith, certainly one of those guys. Yeah. Frank Dremick, hadn't kind of watched the full game of him.
He was good.
Bear comes out, has 17 points in the second quarter of this game. Yeah. And then, of course, he's got the blood flowing all over his face. Which one of those guys on those Titans teams do you think time has forgotten how good they were a little bit? Like, I mean, it's funny to even talk about Bear in that way. He's like the leads the league in games played. But, you know, when we talk about we put together the greatest teams ever, but Bear's very rarely involved in those conversations.
And that kills me because he would probably be the one now. Like, he was different. You know, for that time, he was different. And I'll say that. I think it's hard to just point out one person. Mm-hmm. Right? Jason Smith, great shooter, great defender, athlete. Frank Dremick was supposed to have been the next Andrew Gaze. But again, if you watch Frank, ball handler, shoot the ball, can pretty much do everything.
Mm.
Bear was what the bigs are now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like he was that guy. You know, bigs that can pop out and shoot. Nobody in the league was doing that back then. Not many of them. You know what I mean? Sets the best screens, but can shoot the ball and just understood how to play. You know what I mean? Just understood how to play. Great defender. And people, because he can get. If he put his body on you, you have problems. You know what I mean? But he would be. It would be him. But again, like I said, it's hard to just point out one because I think a lot of I've seen you guys. You did something with Jason Smith. Was it Sunday or last week? I know he had 38 in one of those grand finals games. And Frank, like I haven't heard, I haven't seen Frank. He another one that kind of disappeared. I think Wills was on that. And was Wills on that team? I think Wills was on that team.
Yep, off the bench.
Yeah. So it's a lot of those guys, man. And it's hard to, like I said, it's hard to single out one. But if I had to, I think Bear gets lost in that. For a guy who's played, almost 600 and something games.
Right.
I mean, grand final. I think he's got 2 grand finals, maybe. I know he's been, he's played with a fair few teams, but he's never missed the playoffs. I don't think people know. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's ever missed the playoff.
Right.
In 600 and something games, he's always been in the play. Wherever club he goes to, they make the playoffs. That's unreal, man.
It is unreal. Cam Mack was talking about if he put his butt on you in the post, you were in trouble. Our man Luke McMillan found that out the hard way.
Yes, he did.
That was a rough kind of 3 or 4 minutes for our guy.
That's tough.
Just quickly, and this is great because we're essentially eavesdropping on 2 teammates talking about play. There might be someone out there or people out there who might not know that we're talking Tony Ronaldson when the boys talking Bear. So, I highly doubt it. There's people like Tony Ronaldson, of course, not just here in the NBL, but hit huge shots for Australia, almost none bigger than that.
Sure did.
4-point play that he got him through to the last 4. Nothing better than hearing 2 teammates talking nicknames, but Tony Ronaldson, if the Bear, which I'm sure he will, comes up again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he needs to.
When you think back on the Titans era, 4 years, they came, we went, 2 grand finals you guys got to. You mentioned no championship there under Gorge. Is it just frustration for you? It
was
emotion?
Yeah, it was frustrating. Like I said, because the teams we had, and then you're going in every year as a favorite to win it. Every year. So every year, maybe not that first year, but the team we put together, we still. And that's what I mean. We put together a team, combined the 2 teams, and made the grand final. You know what I mean? And then made it again the following year. But then, the 2 years after that, we go out early. We don't even make it. So not making the grand final was not winning it was hard. You know what I mean? And then had to, disband again. Gorge ended up going to Sydney and winning it the first year he gets there. So I'm fuming. I'm fuming.
3 in a row.
It was killing me. It was killing me when he went there. And then because we actually had a little kind of going away dinner, and I told him, I said, if I could, I would love to go to Sydney with you. Like I told Gordon that, and I couldn't. It wasn't gonna happen because Shane was there and a lot of other people were there, so it was never gonna happen. And to see him win a championship. It's funny, though, because he actually called me a couple of days after he won it and said, Mac, no injuries. That's exactly what he said. We went through the season. We won that championship. We had no injuries. And again, as much as I don't want to blame it on that, but we lost, those last 2 years. The 2 years we lost. But those other 2 years, we lost key pieces to what we do. And that killed us.
How frustrated, obviously you talk about a talented Titans team in this particular situation, but was the frustration growing, and we'll talk 94 shortly, but you get here, you win a championship in year number 1, And then a decade later, you've been the NBL's top point guard. There's all NBL first teams. There's all these accolades. There's grand final berths. There's talented teams. But you hadn't cut the net down yourself as well. Was that just adding to the frustration where it took 12 years to get back there? Like, it must have just been, as you touched on, killing you when Gorge goes and wins 3 in a row and you're working your ass off playing good ball and you just can't get it.
And couldn't we had good teams. We just wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? In some of those instances, like that first one, the '94 one was great, but then we had opportunity the next year, and just down our leg. You know what I mean? You beat Perth over there in game 1, and then come home and lose on your home floor in game 2, and then we went over there and it was never going to be a game. They blew us out, and that was frustrating. And then every year after that, when again mergers happen, new teammates here and there, and you get to that point. And it became really, really frustrating. You know what I mean? And then that one giant year in between, it was, and then to get told you're not wanted, we going in a different direction. You know what I mean? So to be able to get cut, and then like I said, I called coach. I called a nod and told him what happened. He said, "What?" He was surprised. And he said, "Yo, I'll call you back. Give me 10 minutes. I'll give you a call back." He actually didn't call me. Seamus McPeak called me and said, "We want you at the Tigers." I signed a contract like the next day, and then I ended up at the Tigers. And that was 2 years. 2 years with Drewy, Coax, and Brad Key and Lindsay, and then they retired. And then, and a lot of people don't know this. When they retired, I actually had the opportunity to go to. I had the opportunity to go to Wollongong. So I get a call after those 2 years when they retired. Al had got the job, but I actually wasn't. I wasn't talking to Al. Me and Wazza was coaching the Big V team together. So Waz was communicating with Al. I actually wasn't communicating with Al. And then Brendan Joyce calls me. I want to get you down here, Wollongong. And so it's crazy how this happens. He said, we're gonna bring you to Wollongong on a Friday. Right? So I actually didn't say nothing to Waz. I didn't say nothing to nobody. I get home after training on Thursday night. Al calls me like 10 o'clock. I go, "Al, what's up? What's going on?" So, just want to talk about next year and, talk about, going to China. How we used to go to China, talk about the China trip. And I go, "Yeah, what about next year?" He said, "Oh, well, we want you back." And I go, "Oh, really?" I said, I'm going to Wollongong tomorrow. I actually got a deal on the table. And the phone just went silent. He didn't say nothing. Like I don't think he knew what to say. Like I said, I haven't been talking to him, so I didn't know what was going on. I got an opportunity, so I'm gonna take it. I said, "I'm actually going to Wollongong in the morning." And then he actually eventually comes on and goes, "Don't sign nothing." Listen, he said, he was like, "Don't sign nothing. Let me just tell you what we're doing. I got Anstey coming back. We're gonna sign Richard Tucker back. Dave Thomas is coming back." I said, "Is Anstey actually coming?" He said, "Anstey's coming back." I said, "Al, is Anstey coming back?" Like he just seriously, he pretty much
game changer.
Anstey's coming back. I said, "Okay." I said, "I won't sign nothing."
Right.
I still went up there though, so I still went to Wollongong. And the drive, and Brendan, I know he hates me for this, but the drive to Wollongong, I said, "Dude," I said, "I'm going back to the Tigers." And he didn't know it. He didn't have nothing to say. He pretty much said, "Yeah, I kind of figured you would. I know your family's there. You didn't want to upload your family, blah blah blah." And then when I get to Wollongong, I still meet everybody. And one of the owners comes to me and go, I'll throw in an extra 10 grand. It was almost like, take this 10 grand check and take it with you. And I was like, as enticing as it was, I said, "Nah." And then I end up staying with the Tigers. And I told James, because I wasn't, again, at that time, I wasn't making a lot of money. And I still, after that first year with the Tigers, we ended up winning the championship that year. So, got the little monkey off my back for getting that championship. We had a crew that year. If you remember that team, we had a crew. And everybody, it was funny though. It seemed like everybody had a chip on their shoulder. You know, myself, you know, Rashard for not playing the year before. Anstey coming back, you know, leaving and coming back. Dave Thomas, we all had a chip on our shoulder, and we just went through that year. Just, you know, this is gonna be us. We don't win the championship. So I go to Mr. McPeak. Dude, you gotta give me some more money. You gotta up it now. You know what I mean? And he was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. There's nothing I can say. So he gave me a new 2-year deal, and then that was it.
Not everybody got that kind of response from Mr. McPeak.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's funny. You are absolutely right. And it's funny, even when I retired, like Al wanted me to stay, but he didn't really tell me that. Seamus didn't. Because I'm going to tell you, I think Seamus didn't want me to stay because he thought I was going to want more money because we had just won it again. You know what I mean? We had just won it again. And Seamus was like, no, you got to retire. No, you ain't coming back. You got to go. You got to retire. And then that was it. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's probably a good idea that I retire. And then I end up calling it a day. But then walking my little dogs one morning, Joey Wright calls me.
Ooh.
He was in Brisbane. First thing he said was, "Are you actually retired?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Are you retired?" I said, "Joey, what are you talking about? Do you want to keep playing?" And I was sitting up there going, I said, "You serious?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I want you to come to Brisbane."
Wow. You're 44?
40, I was 43 going on 44.
Right.
He said,
Did you really do that?
Let me tell you what happened. So he said,
Please.
I want you to come to Brisbane, and I want you can come in. You go back. I want you to back up Adam Gibson. You know, help him. After this, we're gonna sign you 3 years. So after this year, become a part. I'm not gonna play for 3. After this year, the next 2 years, you become part of the basket. You'll become part of the coaching staff.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I went in. It's funny because I'm walking the dog and I get home and, you know, my partner, and I actually told her what happened. And she goes, "What? You going to Brisbane? I thought you was done. I thought you retired." I said, "I just got offered." You know what I mean? I said, "I'm going up there." So he organized for me. I might have been the next week, he organized for me to go up there, meet everybody, meet the people, everybody that's involved. So I met them, stayed up, you know, one night. Went up one night, came back the next day. I get back, I don't hear from him for 2 weeks. Then he calls me out of the blue and goes, "There won't be a team. They have pulled the pin." Remember? Said they have pulled the pin. I go, "Oh, you say, yep." When that happened, I think that was a sign for me to retire, and then that was it.
Right. Hey, nice way to go out. That
no
championship, overgorge.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And it's funny. The next year,
series.
I was on the coaching staff with the Tigers, and we played the Dragons in the grand final.
Yep.
And I come out of the locker room. He come out of the locker room, and I go, I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I'm glad you're not playing." That was it. That's all he said. And then he walked out. He walked out on the floor. And every time I see him, I laugh. I laugh about that. And they end up getting us in 5 games. That was a tough series.
Let's,
go ahead, Cam.
I was going to go back to 94 because, you know, obviously you roll in, you know, North Melbourne, they got, you know, some financial issues as well. So there was a little bit of, you know, long-term concern around the North Melbourne Giants at the time. We'd seen the Magic come in a couple of years earlier. So we'd lost with a merger there. So you come on in, your first thought, Brett Brown, he's like, "You're coming to Australia, you're going to come play in Australia." Like, did you know much about Australia? Did you know much about the NBL or anything before that?
I knew a little bit, and the reason why I knew a little bit is because I knew they took point guards because I knew Ricky Grace was here. Okay, now me and Ricky go back a little, not a long way, but a little way. Me and Ricky played against each other in the junior college all-star game, right? And then I also played against him. He actually didn't play. When I was at Texas A&M, he was at Oklahoma. We played them like my last season. We played him first game of the season, but he didn't play. He was injured. That was the year they went to the grand final. That's the year they lost to Danny Manning and them. They lost to Kansas in the final. So that year we played them. So I knew they took point guards. Now the interesting thing about this was Brett actually wasn't looking at me. He was looking at somebody else. So I'm playing CBA. I'm playing in the CBA over there, and he was looking at a guard named Cedric Hunter. And Cedric was he's been to Final Fours with the University of Kansas also. So he's been to Final Fours with Kansas. Me and Ced was on the same team. I was actually playing the 2. But when Ced goes out, I was playing the 1. So this is my last season. I was actually having a really good year. So he was looking at Cedric, but then when I come in the game, the whole game changes. The whole pace of the game changes. And he's just like, I'm actually looking at the wrong guy. That's how I ended up here.
I love that story so much because, and he was watching that on tape, right? That's how,
on
and
tape.
So what I love about that story is you never know who's watching.
You don't.
You never know what opportunity is around the next corner. And it may not even be anyone in the building. And they might not be watching you that game right now, but in a month, 2 months. So, I think it's a great message for aspiring young ballers.
I always use that.
Right.
All my camps. Every camp I do, that's the one message I use.
Right.
Always, because I'm a big believer in working hard. Work your behind off, go hard every time you step on the floor because you never know who's watching. And another reason why I use that is because when I was in JUCO, we training, right? So we actually training. And like you just said, you never know who's watching. There's a guy sitting in the stands. We don't even know who he is. But we ain't taking it serious. We joking around, playing around. The training it wasn't like training should have been. You know what I mean? 2 days later, my coach comes in, and he goes, "I'm disappointed in all you guys." He said that guy that was sitting in the stands was a coach from the University of Pittsburgh, Big East. This was the Big East. He said he will never recruit another player from our school because of what he saw. And from that day, that was if I step on the floor, I'm going to give it, I'm going to play as hard as I can. Every time, whether I'm outside, whether I'm, whether it's training, I'm going to give it all. And I use that same thing. You never know who's watching.
And we flagged this in a big way ahead of last NBL season with LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton in town, right? And waving this banner for, you talk about guys like Will Magnay and you never know who it might be. Like Torrey Craig, right? The Nuggets are there that night in Adelaide to watch Terrence Ferguson.
And
Torrey Craig guards Jerome Randall. He pulls down 14 boards, has 36 points. He's never looked back.
And he's in the NBA now. It's crazy, ain't it?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, because this is on memory, but did you play against Ricky and the Wildcats in the opening game of that 94 season?
Yeah. I pretty much got a welcoming. Yeah, Ricky
How'd it go?
Welcome. Yeah, didn't go too well. He welcomed me to the year. He welcomed me to the league.
Did he have a triple-double?
He had 28, 10, and 10. I'll never forget it. And after that game,
Wait, what did you have?
like 15 and 8. I didn't do well.
Solid.
But I wasn't a scorer.
Yeah.
At that time, what I mean? I wasn't a scorer. But after that game, the next day, all I heard was, this guy shouldn't be here. He's not the right guy playing here. Like, these are Giants people. You know what I mean? Ricky Grace just tore him a new behind and blah, 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 blah. After that, so, every game is every week. We play Townsville the next week. I had 18 and 15. Then I think we played Newcastle. We might have played if not Newcastle, then we played them. But the game after that, I had like 24 and 14. We played Perth again over there. Ricky had 2 points. Now, I'm not going to take credit for his 2 points because remember those years, we played zone. So we played a lot of zone, but Ricky only had 2 points. Then I think we played against Derek Rucker, and he was at Newcastle. I had 25. I had 25, 11, like 11 steals and like 8 rebounds or something. I think that pretty much solidified me still being
there. Yeah, I think that worked.
Some of the steal numbers
you
were putting up at that point in time. And I mean, over the course of your career, but just ridiculous double-figure steals games. Were you robbed of the MVP in '94?
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say, I think I was. To lose by 1 point,
Yep.
right? And let me tell you why I'm only saying this. I love Drewy. Drewy's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I know he gets all the votes every game. I knew this. Like, I know this. And I know this because I played with him. And then to lose by 1 point killed me. And another reason, let me tell you this. So I'm at the awards dinner, right? I'm up there getting my Good Hands Award. I happen to look to my right. I see the MVP award, and I see his name.
Oh.
So I knew I had lost already.
Did you hang around?
I did. So I went back to the table, and I just sat there. Kind of numb for a second. And I said, I'm not going to win MVP. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? I said, I already saw who won. I already saw Drewy won it. I said, what are you talking? I said, I just saw his name on the MVP. So I knew I was done. But yeah, I thought I was. I would love to have it though.
We had this discussion actually when we look back at that that day 94 grand final series when you won on the buzzer in Adelaide. And you probably won't say this, but we legitimately believe you robbed twice, not just for the MVP, but also for the grand final series MVP. Now, Paul Reed's played, a critical part of that team, but we think you got robbed twice. What do you think?
I ain't gonna say that.
Yeah.
That's his teammate, Cam. Come on.
I know. I agree. You know what?
But we'll say it for you.
We say it for you. We agree.
I appreciate
Hey,
it.
you were talking about Ricky Grace.
Yep.
When you look back on your career, I mean, we talked about rivalries before, the team versus team rivalries. I mean, is he the guy for you as terms of an individual rivalry?
Always, yeah. It was always a rivalry. He was always a rivalry for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like from that first game, you know what I mean? And because of who he was, like again, I'm just coming to the league. I'm trying to get my rep up. You know, who do I want to play against? You know what I mean? Like it was always Ricky. It was just that rivalry, and throughout the whole career. Again, he's beat me in 2 grand finals. So you know what I mean? Like that kills me. Like that bothers me. Like and Ricky's my guy. Like we good friends. But that kills me because he's beaten me twice in grand finals.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, he was always my rival. And again, it just keep like all the point guards at that time.
Yep.
But Ricky was always the one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he says the same things about you. I spoke to him. It was a couple of years ago now, but I was talking to him about the game against the Houston Rockets, and he was like, "Hold on, let's go back a little bit to that grand because you guys were all
was
going to go right." And he said, "You got to understand this final series was personal for me because he comes in '94, takes his team to the title, almost MVP. Yeah. He's like, hold on." I'm the best point guard
this is my league. Exactly. That's what he
right. This is my league. And so in '95, he's like, I'm taking this back.
And you know what? It eats at me every day, man. Like even to this day, because we had them. Like we went over there in game 1 and beat them. And what's made it crazy? Remember back then the grand finals was home. Yes. So you play away and home.
Home, yeah.
Right? They actually changed it because they was the home team. Right? So they changed for some reason they changed the format that year. Mm-hmm. So they had the home court, but we end up going to them first. So this is our opportunity. You know what I mean? We go to them, we beat them. Now we got the grand final coming back home for game 2. And they came in and popped us. And the game, I'm gonna tell you why it hurts me because I remember we fight like close game. It was a close game, and then I can't remember. Somebody hit a 3. It might have been Ricky. Ricky might have hit a 3, and we slowly we missed. They come down, score again. Then we scored. Then they come down, score, and then it might have been 2 minutes, 1 minute to go. I tried to throw a long distance pass it might have been Darryl Pierce or Rod Johnson, and I can't remember who picked it off. It might have been Blauhoff might have picked it off, and that was the game. That killed me. And again, I'll take responsibility for that because again, I'm the point guard. we go as I go. And then I threw that pass and they stole it. That killed me.
So were you guys beat then going into game 3? Were you already beat?
We were done. Yeah, we were done. We were done. But you know what? I don't, in our minds, yeah, but, well, maybe I didn't think we were. I think some guys did. Because we actually still took off. Because we were supposed to, if we won, we go straight to London.
Yeah, you're going to go straight, yeah.
So we packed for it. But then we got there. James Crawford, man. Why nobody talks about this dude? Why nobody talking about him? He had like 35, and they was all dunks. He was dunking everything. Like he was on a serious mission. He dunked everything, and they just blew us out the way. It wasn't even close.
He wanted to play Olajuwon.
Badly. Yeah, man. And that again, it killed me because at that time, because Chris, I remember Chris, we had Chris Gent, and Chris Gent played with the Rockets. So he was giving us, he was telling us this, giving us the rundown about the team and things like that. And I'm licking my chops. I can't wait to play against Kenny Smith and Sam Cassell and these guys, just to, you know what I mean? Mario Ellie was on that team, and Mario's a good friend of mine. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to catching up with him. And then, bam, we don't even get there. Kill me. Me. Seriously.
Yeah. When you look back just on that 94 season, and this is a kind of a generic question when it comes to a team that really gets momentum and almost like a fairy tale, which the 94 team was of the North Melbourne Giants.
Yeah.
And you touched on it, obviously, about individually, you got better as, a month or 6 weeks into the year and you're taking on Ricky Grace or Ruck, whoever it might be. Well, when did you think to yourself, hang on a second, this team's got something in them to actually, we could achieve something remarkable here and go all the way, win the minor premiership, which you did, and take that championship?
It might have been, I'm going to tell you, it might have been, so we played, I think we ended up playing the Magic. It might have been the seventh game of the season. We ended up playing the Magic at Rod Laver. And it was one of those games with, 10, 15, I don't know how many thousand, but there was a lot of people there. And they was one of the top teams. So it was them and the Tigers, us, and Adelaide. I don't think Adelaide was up there, but Adelaide was good. Adelaide ended up making the semis. But it might have been, I don't know. It might be after that game, but we ended up going in Raw Laver and beating them by 20. And again, this is with the team, like I said, this is the team everybody was talking about. Again, a gorgeous team. You know what I mean? And we ended up going in there and beating them. But the thing I look back on is I was the only person he brought in the year before. So it was the same team. He just added me. Right? He just added me. But the pieces we had, Rod Johnson can shoot, good defender. Paul Maley, shooter, good defender. We had we played zone the whole year because we was old. Like we was an older team.
Yeah. I mean, there was an us against the world mentality with that team a little bit, right? Because you were too old, too short.
Yeah, and people was killing us. They was calling us, different, these guys are too old. They're not going to win nothing. Yeah, okay, so we got in the zone and we changed the game. Nobody didn't know what to do against the zone. People struggled against the zone until we played Shane when he was shooting from half court. You know what I mean? But nobody didn't know what to do with our zone, and that helped us. Like it helped us. You know what I mean? We starting the 1-2-2, which people are still doing to this day. And I was at the top of that. I was at the top of it, and the word was don't try to don't pass the ball across court. Right. You just steal it. And that's how I averaged like 4.5 steals a game. People were scared, and it just slowed teams down. So now you get it over. It was a 30-second shot clock. You get it over, you still don't have enough time. Teams were struggling to run their offense because they didn't have an offense for that zone. But it was a group, and the offense we ran, the offense Brett put in, it was perfect for the group we had. You know what I mean? It was me penetrating, kicking it to shooters. Pick and roll in the middle of the floor, getting in the lane, dropping it off to Paul, dropping it off to Sinstock. Guys help. I'm kicking it to the corner to Darryl Pierce. I'm kicking it to Paul Maley. John Stelzer. Shanahan was on that team. We had a lot of I hate when I miss guys. I'm trying not to miss nobody. Pat Reedy is another one. that people don't talk about. I wish he went in there. This guy was unreal, yo. He was ridiculous. Left hand, right hand. Patty was tough. You know what I mean? And he's another one people don't talk about. Maybe because he didn't play as long, but he was tough. But that group, it was, again, like I said, I'm the only one they brought in. So it's a group that's been together the years before, and I come in, and I'm just running the show, and we end up beating these guys, end up beating some teams.
I made the comparison during the recent NBL season between the Cairns Taipans of NBL 20 and that new North Melbourne team back in '94, led by a New York point guard. It wasn't a great deal of, expectations on the team coming in. Had a really good year. Now, obviously, as we know, they fell a series short to making a grand final. But when you see Scotty Machado do his thing for the Taipans, do you see a little bit of yourself and the way he goes about it in that team?
I do. I love watching him. He's good, man. He's tough. And a distributor. I'm always, guys that distribute the ball, I'm always a big fan of. You know what I mean? Because I know, again, you look around the league, I know what other guys do. Bryce is a scorer. Cotton's a scorer. Casper's a scorer. These guys put the ball in the hole. Randall's put the ball in the hole. I love watching all of them, but I love watching Machado because I think his main thing is to get everybody else involved. You know what I mean? He distributes, man. He's a great distributor. Some of the passes he throws, I go, wow. That's nice. That's
how we were watching you.
100%.
Yeah. So I love watching him.
Mac, we talk about playmaking and distributing. I talked on this show a little while ago. Well, we talked to Drewy a little while ago about the art of getting buckets. There's nobody in the league's ever done it to the level that he's done it. No one's ever playmade the way you did over the course of your NBL career. And I talked on the show a little while ago about what you used to tell me at practice. One thing you told me was find the second guy.
Yeah.
You're coming in the lane. Everyone sees that first option. That's where their hand's going to go. That's going to get picked off. Find that guy, kick back there that no one else is looking at. What though? Obviously, there's a million of those little tricks and elements that you think about. What do you think makes a great playmaker and made you so great in that way?
Okay, I'll use this. So one thing what I do and when I tell point guards, as soon as the ball touches your hand, right? Or not even when it touches, almost before it touches your hand, you need to take a snapshot of the floor. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to take a picture of the floor before the ball even hits your hands, and then take another snapshot once you have the ball. That's just so you know where everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? So again, I'm seeing Anstey running before I even got the ball. Now when I got it, that's an outlet. You know what I mean? So you see plays, you got to see plays before they happen. You know what I mean? And another thing is not necessarily me getting an assist, me getting a hockey assist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So finding this guy to find the next guy because I know what they're doing. And some of it is scout report. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But finding this guy to find the next guy. But my main thing was just when that ball is in your hand, just take a snapshot of the floor. Know where everybody is. Take a snapshot. You know where everybody is on the floor. And that's how, again, that's, you know what I mean? That's how I've made a list. It's the same thing I do with picking passes off. Anticipation, scout reports, knowing where the next pass is going to go. Again, I gambled a fair bit. It's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? But that's the main thing. Just take a snapshot, see everything, know where everything is, know where everybody is. Take care of your players. Again, because the game has changed now. You know what I mean? Like when I came in, I was distributor first, then scorer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas now, I think the guards now are all, a lot of them scorers. But then I see a guy like Machado. I see even LaMelo Ball, guys like that who are distributors. Just, it just makes me smile. Like, again, because it's the one thing I've done. You know what I mean? I'm still mad I didn't get the assist record. I missed it by 15, and Drewy got it. I wanted it. I wanted the all-time record. I missed it. That was another reason why I was gonna play again.
Get out there, get 60 assists, and call it a day.
I was gonna play again. I wanted to get 500 games, which I missed. and I wanted to get the assist record, and that's why I was going to play again, and then that never happened.
Right. That was great stuff because, you know, we talk about court vision. We use that phrase, but there you're breaking it down. What exactly is that? You know, what is court vision? Your ability to see everyone and all the options, and then it results. That results in those highlight reel plays. We see that footage of that drop off pass to Jamal Mosley you had under the bucket that time for the Titans. That results in those plays just because you're constantly making an assessment of where everybody is on the
court. You're seeing plays before they happen. That's pretty much what it is. And I think all point guards have to be able to do that. So you gotta see things before they happen. And again, like you even said it, knowing if I throw this pass, and now again I've turned the ball over many times, but knowing if I throw this pass, if he steals it, right? If he's going for that steal, there's somebody open.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not gonna throw it to him. I'm gonna look him off, and I'm gonna hit this guy. And then again, back in those days, you jump in the air, everybody's a shot blocker. You just get them up in the air, you drop it off. Everybody's helping, and like I said, the game is a little bit more different now, a little bit more advanced now. But again, it's just try to see the game, plays before. So passes before, plays before. And that's how that's what I've done now. Seeing things before they happen.
No better advice for point guards right around the country and the world. And it has been a great deal of fun. Learned a lot of stuff. Wollongong, Brisbane, 2 destinations that I've no doubt the NBL digital team they're going to be working on a photograph to get you into that so we can see how that probably looks on socials. But as always, not only just great fun going back and watching this wonderful rivalry and the game we touched on. If you haven't seen it, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, NBL TV, get involved and see a bloodbath of a non-finals game, which I think Liam.
Well, go check it out.
And to have a chat about your career, man. We had so much fun watching you play, mate. So it's always fun to have a chat about it.
Appreciate it. And like I said, you guys hooked me up, and I never say thank you. So I'm saying it now. Appreciate everything you guys do for me, man.
It's our pleasure, man.
Thank you, Mac. Thanks for coming on, man.